guys, hello and welcome back to another video. I'm going back to a more normal setting format for the time being because I'm very heavy footed and I just moved into a flat, so I'm very cautious about treading too heavily. But anyway, this video today is going to be about what my personal relationship is between two very different motivators, which are discipline and willpower, and why I think it's important to distinguish between the two things. So I'm going to explain what I think the difference between discipline and willpower is, and how I where I use each one, and where to, because you need both of them, really. You need both of them. So this is how I conceive of it. So, when you start a new habit, let's just choose a really classic one, let's say going to the gym. When you go to the gym, you, like the first time you go to the gym, you just really don't want to go, you're really tired. Let's say you have to go after work, you're just knackered. But there's a little bit of you that goes, no, just shut up, I've got to go. I've just got to go to the gym. And so you go, and then you do your workout, and afterwards you feel really good. You feel, oh, I'm so glad I did that. And then the next time you want to go to the gym, you go to work, you have a full day of work, then you get out and you think, oh, I need to go to the gym now. And that kind of, desire not to go is still there. And you still have to push a little bit against it. You still have to push a little bit against that resistance to get there, to get yourself into the gym. But you come out then again and you feel much better. You feel really refreshed. You're really glad you did it. Okay. Now over time, the more you do that, the more you're going to build up a sense of kind of positive momentum with it. And every time you go and you feel good after doing like a painful task, like going to the gym, you get rewarded, and that builds up a mechanism. And over a period of several weeks, several months, maybe even several years of doing something, you begin to get to a point where it doesn't take any there's no resistance to doing the discipline thing anymore, because you're already there with it. You know that you're gonna feel good if you go to the gym. It just becomes part of your routine. You kind of get used to doing it. If you don't go to the gym, you think, oh, God, I need to get to the gym at some point. You begin to miss it. You begin to crave that feeling. And obviously, if you get a positive habit into your routine, there will be moments where you have to dig your heels deep and think, oh, I really don't want to do it today, but I've just got to kind of make myself do it. But for the most part, I think with a good habit, if it's properly integrated into your life and it's properly serving you as a good habit, it becomes easy and fun to do. It becomes, well, not easy, but it becomes fun. Not to say it's not painful, not to say it's not difficult, but you like to do it because you like the reward you get from it, and you enjoy the pain of doing it because you associate that with the reward you get afterwards. So that's the basics of what is the difference between discipline and willpower. So in that example, the bit of you that's like, oh, I really don't want to go to the gym. No, the bit of you that responds to you not wanting to go to the gym, the kind of bit that just makes you go, is, I think, willpower. That's the bit where the alarm goes off at 5 o'clock and you haven't really slept very well, you're really tired, and your brain just goes, shut up, just get up. That's the part of you that if you're not used to having cold showers, you turn on the cold water and you just think, oh, this isn't very nice. And then there's a little bit of you that's just like, no, shut up, just get in. That little bit of you is willpower. By contrast, discipline, I think, is the phenomenon that occurs, the thing that happens, whatever you want to call it, where you get to a point where that thing as part of your routine. You have a disciplined life, you know, a life that has lots of good habits that is sort of easy to stick to. That's when it becomes discipline, I think. So it's not necessarily a part of you so much that's doing it, but it's like you've disciplined yourself so that it's easy to go to the gym every day. You know, that's what I regard as discipline. So discipline is more, I guess, it's not a part. I don't see it as like a part of you in the same way that the willpower is really like sort of making you do something. Discipline is more the sort of general thing you get afterwards. Like I say, there are different definitions in this. You know, people call discipline different things, but I just think it's important to make this is how I sort of distinguish between the two ideas in my own head, because yeah, but obviously, like, people refer to willpower as discipline. People refer to discipline as, you know, all kinds of things. That's kind of how I see it. That's the one that makes most sense to me. So anyway, discipline, just to recap, so discipline is just the general, like, the routine, like, is the phenomenon of just getting yourself into a situation where you just do the hard work and it's easy, you know. And, you know, maybe sometimes you're not really feeling like it, but generally you feel ready, you feel excited to do hard work. You know, you feel excited to get up early and go to the gym, you feel excited to have a cold shower. You know, it becomes fun. Willpower is the bit of you that gets you to do it without enjoying it. That's the bit of you that gets you. It's very crucial for the beginning stages when you don't really enjoy the habit in the first place. Okay, so where do these two come into play? Well, like I said, you need both. You really do need both, especially when it comes to implementing a good habit. But I think to begin with, when you first have a good habit, that's going to take a lot of willpower, because you're just going to be forcing yourself to do something you don't really want to do. So with the example of going to the gym, lots of willpower there to begin with. You know, you don't want to go to the gym at all. You know, like, you know, I watched this stupid video on YouTube that said it's good for me to go. Like, that would really sort me out, but I don't really fancy it. And the willpower just comes in and says, no, shush, let's just go. And over time, it becomes discipline that makes you do it. You just know that you need to do it. It's not painful anymore. You know, you're just used to it. You enjoy it. And the more you progress into a good habit, as the good habit becomes integrated into your life, the more that just becomes discipline. That's just what you do. And the less willpower you need. Now, like I say, I'm sort of recapping here, but it's very important. Like I say, there will be off days where you feel, I just can't be asked to do this. You know, I really can't be asked. You know, of course, everyone has bad days. You know, there are times later on when the habit's been developed where you do need to dig your heels deep and use a bit of that willpower. But generally, you've got it running on autopilot. You know, so that's really the key with a good habit, is to get it from being willpower that's making you do it to discipline. Because discipline is it's a much more sustainable resource. It's like the log on the fire. It's not going to go out anytime soon but if you get a little match and try and light the big log on fire, it's not going to work. You need the kindling, right, of willpower to get the log on fire. Okay. Likewise with discipline, with willpower, it's excellent for getting things started in the short term. You know, getting a fire started with a bunch of bit of kindling, very easy to do to begin with, but long term, it's not going to last very long. Willpower is much more of a finite resource that you need to use sparingly. And I think the best way to use willpower is to establish habits that are going to work. So really, just the thing I want to drill home here, guys, is when you're establishing a good habit, whatever that is, whether it's going to the gym or learning a language or, you know, getting a cold shower, there should be a point where that sort of, you know, I don't want to sort of oversell this. It's not that it won't be difficult anymore, it won't challenge you, but it will start becoming fun, you'll start feeling motivated to do it. And I know people say, oh, motivation is like, or do the hard work, especially when you feel like it. Yes, that's great, but to get a really solid, successful life, you eventually start getting motivated to do it yourself. That's really what you want. You don't want to be relying too much on willpower. So take my own example with life at the moment. I sort of spend my willpower like it's money. I sort of spend it on one good habit at a time. So to start with, like a few months ago, I started waking up early, right? Now, waking up to an alarm just immediately saps, at any point, waking up to an alarm just already saps your willpower quite a lot. So it's kind of spending, it's quite, let alone waking up at like 5 o'clock in the morning or 6 o'clock, whenever it is, So I knew that would take a hit on my willpower, and that would kind of be what I was trying to do on top of what I would already do in a day. I didn't expect myself to go above and beyond what I was normally doing on any given day, because I'd spent a lot of my willpower getting up early. And that might sound very silly, might sound a bit lazy, but it works incredibly well. So anyway, but after a point, I got to a point where it was actually quite easy to get up early, and it wasn't really using as much willpower as it did in the past. And so that's when it starts becoming discipline. It just becomes what you do. You don't really think about it in the same way. And similarly, at the moment I'm doing a visualization practice where I just visualize my goals every day for about 15 minutes. Now, it doesn't sound like a lot, 15 minutes, but doing 15 minutes of visualization every day is actually quite a big sort of chunk out of your day when you really think about it. So I know that over a long period of time, I'm gonna have to start seeing results in this practice for me to continue it. At the moment, I'm not. I'm not sure if I am or I'm not, because I've only started the practice. But I know that I'm just gonna make myself do it every day for, the book recommends for about a month before, and then I can decide, is this making any difference in my life or is it not? And if it's not, then I can get rid of it. And that's not giving up on a good habit. Well, it's just giving up on a habit that's not serving you, And this is something you really need to remember with discipline generally. Living a disciplined life is, don't let anyone tell you what a disciplined life should look like, Ultimately, the best life you can live is one that you want to live and that you enjoy living in the truest sense, if you don't really enjoy, I enjoy sort of increasing strength training. I like the idea of making my body stronger. I'm not massively fussed about aesthetics. Obviously, it's cool seeing a really nice body. Making your body look really, really nice. But it doesn't really capture my attention, And for a while when I was training in the gym, I was sort of forcing myself to train in a way that was for aesthetics. But at the end of the day, I didn't really enjoy it. I wasn't going home and researching how to get an aesthetic body. I was just sort of going through the movements with it a bit. And for a while I thought, I just need a bit more willpower to sort of get this habit good. But after a while I realised that it's not truly what this habit isn't serving me. So I stopped exercising in that way. I stopped exercising with regards to aesthetics and started prioritising just core basic movements to increase strength. That's the right decision for me, but it might not be for you. But you get what I'm saying, guys. Once you see that you're fighting an uphill battle and that what you want to do, what you've done a habit for long enough. I'd say a month's about perfect amount of time, and it's not catching on. You don't start doing it naturally. Then go back to the drawing boards. Maybe redesign the habit to suit you better, or just give it up. That's why I say don't let anyone sort of tell you what is a good way to live a disciplined life, you know, because some things capture people in different ways, you know. And after a while, you're just going to be sapping your discipline. Not your discipline, sorry, even I'm doing that. After a while, you're not even sapping your discipline anymore. You're just sapping your willpower, when it could be used in better things. So let's give you an example. You know, I made a real habit to study a bit of Italian every day. And just recently, I've stopped doing it. Because I just realised that this wasn't catching on to just being part of my discipline. You know, I was really forcing myself to sit down and study the language. When there were other things, there were other places that I'd rather spend my willpower, like getting up early or like this visualization thing. And I wanted to save the willpower for stuff like that, where I really wanted to level up that habit. And this was really sad for me, because I absolutely love learning languages. But I had to sort of confront the fact that I'm not enjoying the studying of the language enough to, you know, it's still requiring willpower, and I'd rather spend that willpower elsewhere. So I've dropped that habit. You know, I still study languages, you know, basically when I want, but until you know, I've decided it's not enough of a priority. It's not going in enough of a definite direction to justify me getting myself to study it every day, because it's still using willpower rather than discipline. So yeah, that's my thoughts on it. One final thing that I might just mention, because I watched Hamza's guide about willpower quite recently, which is really interesting, but there were some parts of it that I was sort of I didn't really like. And there was one bit where he talked about sort of upgrading your willpower, which is absolutely something you can do. You know, you can build up your willpower day by day by sort of doing more things that you don't like, right? So I haven't really addressed this in this model. In this model, I've kind of made it seem like there's a sort of finite amount of willpower and nothing more, you know, and you can't increase it. You can only use it to build discipline. You know, I'm sure there is like a way of, you know, it's just building willpower as well. Like, I do think, you know, people have the capacity to do that. However, I think it's much better to just use willpower to get, especially in the early days, you know, if you just want to build like a good life for yourself. You know, it's quite a difficult thing it's like quite a long-term thing to increase willpower. To start off with, I think just increase the disciplined life, you know, get the good habits so you don't need to rely on willpower. And then, you know, so, I mean, I have to think about this a bit more, but I guess by living a disciplined life, you kind of naturally increase your willpower, you know, over time. But anyway, what I'm trying to say is just don't worry too much about, I'm not saying you can't increase your willpower, I'm not saying, you know, it's just a finite resource, but I think if you want to build a disciplined life, that you just want to get started on a really good life, getting up early, you know, working hard, getting in the flow state with something you love, working towards your goals, all that kind of stuff. Don't worry. You don't need to worry about upgrading your willpower. I'll just use it as it is, and over time you can build it. So anyway, guys, thank you for watching this video. This is how I'm sort of upgrading my disciplined life. And yeah, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.